Hello, great people. Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom State did the unexpected. He stopped Pastor Adeboye from doing something during a church service. Pastor Adeboye is the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. In a moment, I will leave you to watch the video. And when we come back from watching it, I will be telling you the spiritual significance of that particular video. And we'll also be looking at the political dynamics that shapes such action. What is the influence of religious leaders on politicians in Nigeria, and how as religious leaders use that particular influence that they have on politicians in Nigeria, and what is the implication on leadership and governance in Nigeria? We'll be discussing this and a whole lot more on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omoshola. First, let's watch what transpired between Governor Umo Eno and Pastor Ishi Adeboye before we come back for more discussion. Let's watch it. There you have it. You just watch what transpired between Pastor Ishi Adeboye and Governor Umo Eno. Don't go yet, because we have two important discussions to have, which is the spiritual significance and also the political dynamics. So we'll touch on the spiritual first before we go to the political. But before I even touch on the spiritual, let me say something that is admirable. It is admirable to see Governor Umo Eno speak Yoruba, and his Yoruba, I can tell you that he speaks it quite fluently. That is quite impressive of Governor Umo Eno. Now, let's go to the spiritual before we go to the political. You see that in that particular video, instead of Adeboye greeting Umo Eno, it was Umo Eno that rushed to greet Pastor Ishi Adeboye. That is grace. And I need you to listen attentively to the spiritual, because it will help me when I cross over to the political. That is grace. It is uncommon. Before you see a governor will rush to somebody that is not holding a superior political office. If a governor sees a president, he can rush to the president. If a local government chairman sees a governor, he can rush to the governor. But in this case, it is the governor that rushed to greet Pastor Ishi Adeboye. That shows that Pastor Adeboye has great influence on the governor, and it portrays grace. It is not everybody that enjoy such grace. People usually book appointments. Some book appointment trying to see the governor for 6 months. Some will even book appointment trying to see the governor for even 1 year. That's how bad it can be sometimes. And even when you are seeing the governor, he has other busy engagements. So the governor may not even attend to you more than maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And he may transfer your case to maybe a special advisor or a commissioner to continue from there. But for such a man to now show great respect and regard, it shows one thing, that Pastor Ishi Adeboye enjoy significant grace. Now, this is not unexpected based on the background of Umo Eno, because Umo Eno himself is a pastor. So if Umo Eno sees Pastor Ishi Adeboye, who has been handling this religious Christianity and all that for a while, for decades, definitely he has to pay great respect to him, because especially within a church. So if you look at it, Umo Eno is a political office holder, but he's also a pastor. But within a church, it is normal for him to pay great respect to his senior colleague, because as at the time Adeboye started ministry, one can say, based on age, that Umo Eno may not have joined the ministry at that time. So in terms of being strong in the ministry, you will rate Adeboye the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, that there's barely any country that you go to that you won't find a Redeemed church. So it is normal for Umo Eno to pay him such respect. Now, let us go to more significance. You see, this video is significant because Umo Eno carries with him the sovereignty of the state. Now, we are going to the political, and I'm going somewhere very interesting now. Umo Eno carries the sovereignty of Akwa Ibom State because it is the symbol of the governance of Akwa Ibom State. If they are saying anything about Akwa Ibom State today, the first name that will come to people's lips is the name of the governor because he is the #1 citizen of the state. So for somebody carrying the sovereignty of a state, for him to kneel down and try to greet you with utmost respect, it is very, very rare. It is also significant because Umo Eno carries the resources of the state. You know, he is the head of the executive in charge of executing projects across the state, and within lies is a symbol of the integrity of the state and also a symbol of the dignity of the state. So that shows that pastors have great influence on everyone, including politicians. Like pastors have great influence on bankers, they have it on politicians, they have it on name anybody in the society, because in Nigeria we are very religious people, and the people that are the custodian of religion in Nigeria are these pastors. Now let us now look at one thing that is of concern, which is we have established that pastors have great influence, but how do pastors use their influence, the influence that they have on these politicians? Did they use it well? Is because we can see that government don't often do the right thing, and in a situation whereby government either choose not to do the right thing or government doesn't know the right thing to do, that there is misgovernance, there is a lot of corruption, there is impunity in high places, you would expect that pastors who are supposed to be Christ-like, who are supposed to be an advocate of justice, fairness, equity, development, rule of law, if they now have strong influence on these people that seem to be untouchable, then the responsibility falls on these pastors to be able to make sure that they advise these people accordingly, and when they are going out of line, especially if they are Christians. And for the Muslim folks, the responsibility falls on the imam, that if they are going out of lane, they have to call them back to order. But that has largely not been the case. Rather than for pastors to help, pastors themselves have been enablers of some of the impunity and some of the bad actions that the politicians have been exhibiting in Nigeria. For instance, you will recall that Pastor Ishi Adeboye said, that it was prayer that left dollar at close to 2,000 naira, that if not because they prayed. And you want to imagine that what Pastor Adeboye said, kind of like undermines all the laws of rational economics. Now, prayer is the master key. Prayer can do all things. That's okay, that's acceptable, but prayer will not do everything. So you need rational economic thinkers for dollar to find an appreciable value, for naira to find an appreciable value against the dollar, not prayer. It is not prayer that will bring the naira to an appreciable value against the dollar. It is rational economic thinking. It is good governance. It is foreign direct investment. It is local production, that Nigeria has something that it is producing. It is we cutting our waste and excesses and many more things that can give naira the right value, appreciable value in that respect. But when you say prayer, it means you are enabling some of these things that government is doing, that Nigerians think that they are not too okay or they are not doing perfectly. So a powerful man like Adeboye should be able to use that strong influence that he has, because I can tell you for free that Adeboye is very powerful, and I say it with all sense of responsibility that Adeboye, if you are looking for one of the powerful men in Nigeria that has weight, that has stand, that get level, Adeboye is one of them. Why? Because one, his church is all over the world. He has marketed Christianity, religion, Jesus Christ. He has marketed all over the world. And another thing is that people, the Almighty, are members of Pastor Ishi Adeboye's church. For instance, Remi Tinubu, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is a pastor in Adeboye's church, the Redeemed Christian Church of God. So imagine that Adeboye, governors are bowing down to greet you. Remi Tinubu, that has the heart, the mind of the president, is a pastor in your church. And Yemi Osinbajo, the former vice president, is a pastor in your church. So you can imagine the strong influence that you have on these, important dignitaries of the society. If you have such strong influence and Nigeria is the way it is today, then it means that you are not using your influence rightly, with profound respect to Pastor Adeboye. And it is not today that Adeboye has been having such strong influence. So don't limit it to the Buhari Tinubu regime, or you want to tag Pastor Adeboye an APC supporter. No. During the time of Obasanjo, when Obasanjo was released from prison, and they were kind of like saying, oh, come and be president. He was very scared that, how will you bring me from prison to come and be president of a country like Nigeria? And he was seeking spiritual guidance. Obasanjo rushed to Pastor Adeboye's camp, redemption camp, to seek spiritual advice and God guidance. So you can imagine that if somebody that wants to be president and eventually becomes the president can rush to you, it shows the kind of influence that Adeboye, and it's not only Adeboye, there are all these big pastors, they have influence on some of these politicians. You will see these politicians that used to do gra, they sneak into the pastors' houses at night for prayer, for counseling. So as they are sneaking into the pastor's house at night for prayers and counseling, are you not telling them the truth that there's economic hardship? Oh, maybe because your tithe is not reducing, because Nigerians are very religious people, they will decide to stay hungry but still pay tithe. If your tithe has been reducing and offering has been reducing to less to nothing, and you're asking why, they'll say, oh, it's because of economic hardship. Maybe some of these our pastors will begin to speak truth to power. So I think this video is significant, and it is a message that our pastors should begin to use their influence rightly, because the responsibility falls on them. I mean, most of these politicians, they don't respect anybody. They don't even respect some of these judges. I've seen videos whereby politicians will lambast a judge anyhow. So they don't have any respect for anybody. But one of the people that they've shown respect to is this popular pastor. So these pastors should begin to use their influence well to make sure that they convince this politician. Imagine Pastor Adeboye telling a top politician that God is angry with you, that God says that you promised this and you are not doing it, and for that reason God is angry with you and your days are numbered. Won't that politicians change? Won't fear grip the heart of that politician? The truth is God happy with what is happening in Nigeria and what politicians are doing? Definitely no. So pastors can be the saving grace of the Nigerian people, and I hope that they will act accordingly in that regard. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omo Deji. Dr. Deji is a political scientist with a PhD in political science, and this is where we relax to dissect policies and happenings in the polity. Do well to subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos, and of course, I have great, interesting videos coming your way. Till I see you again, always remember that I love you all sincerely.